Are there any vapor controls here for like wind permeability or air permeability?
Well, it's just the cob. The cob has this amazing ability to take on water and breathe it out. I remember when I first plastered the outside, before we had whitewashed it, it was dark colored plaster, earth colored plaster, and it rained really hard one night. And so it was kind of a test for the plaster, because the cob would have dissolved somewhat with the horizontal driving rains that we had to deal with. It would have eroded, but the plaster did the job. It protected the cob. There was no muddy stuff down around the foundation. The rocks were still clean. The plaster took on some water. It became darker colored. But as the day went by and the sun came out, it just became lighter colored again. It can just breathe in the water and breathe it back out again.
What type of plaster was it?
The plaster is very similar to cob, but a few little changes. Cob is the clay subsoil from our land, and sand and straw. Once we started working on the plaster, I did a lot of experiments, based on some of our books that we've been reading. And I went with a mix that had sifted sand, that it didn't have the little pebbles in it that a lot of our river sand has. It had the clay subsoil, but it had a good amount of fresh cow dung. And that was the magic for that plaster. The cow dung has enzymes that react with the clay and make it more sturdy. And there was also some chopped straw in the plaster, so that you didn't have the long straws that you have in the cob. It was, Hap chopped them up for me. I was the plastering person. That was my thing. He was kind of the wall builder, and I was the plasterer. And certain people just got really attracted to that part of the project. It was interesting. They weren't the same people, different people. And they came on when it was time to plaster and really grooved on the plaster. It was strong smelling at first, but you got used to it, and it was just so much fun to work with. And we just did it with our hands, bare hands. And then when we did the inside plaster, refined the mixture even more. This is a one-coat kaolin plaster. So we used the white, kind of creamy white kaolin clay, and chopped straw, even finer, and wheat paste, which I cooked up in our summer kitchen out there on the camp stove. And the magic for this plaster was cattail fiber. The fluff from, how the cattails, when they get old and go to seed, that fluff is just amazing. And I remember I started upstairs without the cattails, and the plaster wasn't as much fun to apply. It was sandier, grittier. It tended to fall off more. And then one day I was making up a new mix, and I had a little too much water in it. I needed something to quick, absorb the water. And okay, this is a chance to try out the cattail fiber. Put that in, and it was fabulous. It was just wonderful. And so we had, another crew who just really got into that part.
And how long did the plastering take to go from, to cover the
It was
exterior
about a month.
and the interior as well?
About a month. Now, part of that was because I could only do it when I wasn't working at the Raj. So, it was. We often got into it and worked late into the evening, but once it got dark, we had to quit.